What is your ha ha ha? Oh wait, your serious moment. Some guys where I worked were planning to gang ape a girl in the parking lot when the shift ended. It wasn't a hilarious haha story even at first, but it really seemed like just really horribly inappropriate joking. It was a lunch table I sat down at during my break with guys around my age. At first I was just really uncomfortable and just tried to shut up and tune it out. But then they tried to include me, and it escalated to them fill out planning details, and I was just about sick at the table. I was absolutely sure they were going to do it. So as soon as they were gone I went and told my dad, who was the safety guy at the plant, and he made sure cops were waiting for them in the parking lot, and that girl had someone walking her to her car from then on. Whole thing was soft. Started a new job in a company where my boss worked in 2 different offices. He wrote himself a note on legal paper. He handed it to me and told me to fax it to the other office. Then he told me to call them and tell them to put it on his desk there so he could have it tomorrow when he arrived. I smiled because I thought he was playing a joke on the new guy. He was not. He loves faxing. Let the man fax. When I was in high school I received a message over MSN from a buddy saying Mitch is dead. Thinking he got into trouble, I responded with, haha, what did he do? It turns out, he had a brain aneurysm while driving home from school. I asked a coworker with what his son's name was, and he answered Legolas. After 2 seconds of laughing I realized he wasn't laughing. His son is actually named Legolas. Same here. I met a little boy named Merlin and kinda insulted his parents with my reaction. This was a few years ago. I forgot how the topic was brought up, but I clearly remember my older sister saying, there aren't any modern buildings in Egypt, just pyramids. Well, that's why the pyramids are so big. They have to house the whole Egyptian population. I came into my job and my boss was running a bit late for an unknown reason. Now, my boss is the type of person to joke about anything, no matter how serious it is, and will pull it off with a straight face. We never really take him seriously, unless it is directly related to work. He comes in, after being late and after a bit, just casually says our close coworker had passed the previous night. I literally chuckled and said yeah, sure, and blew it off. He then said that he died from a heart attack before he was set to go out with his buddies during the evening. I then said, oh wait, are you actually serious? And he almost started crying right there and said yes. I miss that man to this day. Really chill guy with some cool hobbies and volunteer work. I also feel so bad for my boss because they had known each other for years. Friend 1. Hey man, how come you decided to shave all your hair off? Friend 2. The chemo kind of decided for him. Friend 1. Off Joe. No, seriously though, how come? Me. He's actually not joking. Funniest that ever happened to me. I once worked with a 50-some-year-old guy at my first job, who also happened to be a former crackhead. I added in that detail because his mannerisms and communication were clearly affected by his prior drug use, and he would sometimes laugh when he was telling serious stories. One day he was telling me a story about him accidentally setting fire to the woods when he was trying to cremate his dead pet frog when he was a little boy. I was laughing my ass off. Strangely so was he, until he looked me dead in the eye with a face that's as serious as they get and says, I'm still not over it. I knew that look and knew he was actually being serious despite being in absolute hysterics with me while telling his story. I immediately felt like in a hole. He was cool about it though, thankfully, lol. An intern at the vet I work at was a very sheltered Mormon. He came to work one day panicked. He had his first kiss the night before, asked the girl to marry him, and was concerned about his wedding date. He was absolutely convinced that he got her pregnant by kissing her. Absolutely convinced. It took me a long time to register what he was panicked about because it sounded so absurd. He'd delivered hundreds of kittens and puppies by then. I just thought he had also learned about human reproductive anatomy as well as animals by then. Waking up from general anesthesia. One of the nurses by my hospital bed gently informs me that my heart had stopped while I was under. I thought I was dreaming for a while and didn't take it seriously. Then my dad showed up and I saw the panic on his face. Then I phoned my mum and she had obviously been crying her eyes out. Then I took it seriously. New friend, I really shouldn't be doing so many extreme sports, but you gotta live your life, right? I'm gonna end up in a wheelchair by the time I'm 30. Me. I know, right? New friend. No, I mean really, I have a degenerative disease that's going to ruin my body by my 30s, so I'm trying to live my life now. I was on a Christian camping week here in the UK. There were some Americans with us. I found a stone on the beach with some great fossils in it and was showing it to some kids. One of the Americans started talking about how God had put fossils in the earth to mislead the vain, who trusted their own observations rather than the Bible. I, naturally, thought he was joking and burst out laughing, and he was just so offended. He complained about me to the people running the camp, and they thought he was joking at first and laughed too. When I came back from lunch at work to find that one of the soft drink vendors, because at grocery stores they stock their own product, our stockers don't, loaded the pallets wrong and a tower of pallets fell, spilling soda/tea/glass everywhere. The boss, store manager, just so happened to walk into the back room at the same time, looked at me, and was like, "You saw it, you're cleaning it up." Thinking he was joking as he liked to do, I laughed it off. That's when he looked me dead in the eye and said, "No, I mean you're really cleaning it up, because that's your job." Insert me spending the rest of my shift cleaning it up, and my department head constantly calling me over intercom, and getting yelled at, and then written up the very next day, because I didn't do my duties in addition to cleaning up that epic mess. Getting fired later that year was one of the best things to happen to me. Years back I dated a girl who would lie compulsively about random things. The first big example, I went to her place. She'd just got Assassin's Creed for the first time and was really getting into the story. Like a week later she was telling me how she just discovered her family were related to assassins from Florence. I thought it was a joke, but turns out she was serious, had changed her surname to something Italian on FB, and had already spread the lie about on social media. In my head I was like, I literally watched you play Assassin's Creed last week, but she was gorgeous, way out of my league, so I put up with this and other crazy stuff for another 6 months before I gave up. I'm in Australia and first heard the news of 9/11 on my morning radio, USA evening. I was stuck in traffic near the army base and they announced it with sirens. To start off with, I thought it was a comedy sketch that I didn't think was particularly funny. I had a pretty dark sense of humor too. Then I realized it was news. Holy Breaking news. People panic buying toilet paper. Me at home. Ha ha ha. Me at grocery store. Oh wait, you're serious. I feel this at a visceral level. When I realized it was real, no TP to be found, and people were talking about how many dozens of rolls they had hordes, I would say that I had 2.x mega rolls left. Someone gave me a 12 pack of Angel Soft for my birthday, and I honestly am really grateful. Back in college, me and a few of my guys would get lunch every Tuesday. Me and 2 of the guys are there as normal and are waiting for our last guy Todd. I start texting Todd and asking him about not being at lunch yet. The other guys start narrating what I should text. So I end up saying, "Matt says get your Ollie Polly looking ass over here. Steve says that you're the personification of washing your hands and getting your sweater sleeves wet." It goes on like that for a bit. Then Todd calls me directly. He says he can't make it because his grandma died that morning and was headed home to see his family. The look on the other 2 guys' faces when I told them was priceless. Was working a job while in early days of college. It was in a popular American restaurant chain where I had been successful as a host, cashier, waiter, and member of their retail store for just about a year. I accidentally forgot that I had swapped shifts with someone and missed the shift entirely. But I came in a few hours after it had started to sincerely apologize and let them know I was going home to change and I'd be right back. They brought me to the back and told me I was fired. I laughed at first because the boss was occasionally a bit of a jokester. Then I realized he was serious. To this day it gives me massive anxiety about underperforming in any job I have because I believe I will just be fired for it and they'll move on regardless of my tenure or knowledge. I understand people believing in the Bible, but it honestly never dawned on me that people took every story in it for truth instead of like Stories with morals as to how to lead your life. A co-worker of mine mentioned how dinosaurs weren't real because they aren't mentioned in the Bible, and I laughed at his joke. He wasn't joking. After a panel discussion, I went to the hotel bar with one of the other panelists to discuss our work. I was 32, she was in her early 60s, I believe. As we drank, she became flirty. I thought it was fun, so I went along with it. When she invited me up to her room, I thought she was joking. She wasn't. It was quite awkward when I realized. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos.